Wrapping parts of motorcycles are something that's been around for decades, although for some time now it has sort of fallen out of favour. But the rising popularity of bikes like the Royal Enfield Interceptor and the Triumph Bonneville have instigated a bit of a revival in this practice, especially when it comes to wrapping exhaust pipes and hand grips. I, for one, found the hand grips on the Interceptor just a little bit narrow for comfort. The diameter is only fractionally smaller than something like a Bonneville hand grip, but I thought straight from the start that it didn't quite suit me. I needed to do something about it at some stage. Up until now, the plan had been just to get some chunkier grips, but as you remember from a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with Trip Machine, and along with various other goodies, a couple of sets of their leather hand grip wraps arrived on my doorstep. When I was a kid, I guess it'll have been sort of in the mid-1970s, I'll have been 11 or 12, I had an Ellswick Hopper 12-speed racer with a razor blade seat and those iconic drop handlebars. Handlebars that were wrapped. It was a really nasty, tacky sort of vinyl tape that only lasted a year if you were lucky, and I seemed to be constantly re-wrapping them. I remember my first few attempts were absolutely hopeless and the wrapping only lasted a few days before it started to come off. But eventually I got quite proficient at it, a skill that I learned that I haven't had to use for some 40 something years. Now these leather wrap kits come in Trip Machine's usual classy packaging, and as far as I'm aware there are two colours available, both made from top grain leather. There's the light tan that I fitted to the Interceptor for the purposes of this video, and there's a lovely dark vintage tobacco colour. The leader on these wraps, that is the end that you actually start to wrap from, is specially shaped into, for want of a better word, a sort of a tongue shape. This is for ease of use to allow you to set the angle at which the wraps need to be applied, to assist you in getting a nice, even, uniform wrap. Along the entire length of each strip, a piece of 3M adhesive with backing paper has already been applied. And on installation, it's simply a matter of peeling this back as you apply it and sticking it firmly down onto the handlebars. It has to be said that straight out of the box, they don't look like much. It's one of those items that its true beauty doesn't shine until they're actually applied to the handlebars. I'll quickly take you through the process. In order to carry this job out, you're going to need something like a body shop razor or a Stanley knife blade, a good sharp one, or a sharp pair of heavy duty scissors in order to trim these wraps to size when you fit them. And I would also recommend that you need two more things. One is some body shop type panel wipe or pre-paint wipe. This is usually naphtha based, it's not too expensive. I always have it to hand because it's got 101 uses in the motorcyclist's garage. You can use neat alcohol, but don't use rubbing alcohol because it does contain oils. And I'd also recommend that you have some clean workshop wipes, or at a push, a clean rag will do the job. Oily, greasy hands come in contact with your hand grips all the time, and within a very short space of time there's going to be a layer of that greasy, oily contaminant all over your grips, which obviously isn't going to promote adhesion, and you want these wraps to stay put on your grips for as long as is possible. So before you start this job, using whatever materials you decide you prefer, give both hand grips a really thorough clean. Do it twice to make sure that you remove every trace of contaminant from those hand grips before applying those wraps. Then do a dry run. Now, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to apply these. You can start nearer to the centre of the handlebar and work your way out, or you can start at the end of the handlebar and work your way in. I don't really think there is a right way or a wrong way, it's all down to your preference. Each wrap is stamped with the Trip Machine logo, and I wanted the writing facing in on both sides. And you also want it somewhere near the top. You want them to be as symmetrical as possible, otherwise it's distracting. So just do a loose, dry run and work out where you need to start wrapping from, where that tongue needs to be located in order to get that writing into the perfect position for you. And once you've made a mental note of how it should go, it's time to start wrapping. Now, the actual installation doesn't take long at all. It's a couple of minutes at most. So take your time at this stage to weigh everything up and practice. Now, the way that 3M adhesive is applied, it's smack in the middle of the strip with a little gap at either side. And I found that the best way to do it was to overlap it so that it's just to the right of the ridge that that adhesive makes on the left hand grip, and to the left of that ridge on your right hand grip. This provides you with about a 25% overlap, which gives you a good thickness of leather in between the adhesive strips and should afford good durability. Now, in a minute I'll just play some music while I show the grip actually being wrapped. The key to this is to put a good amount of tension as you wind the wrap on, very slightly stretching the leather to make sure that it all pulls down firmly onto itself and you're not left with any baggy bits at the edges. It's important that you do this in order to get a good, durable, neat and tidy installation. I'll quickly show you. Now when you get to the end, trim off any excess, making sure that the joint is going to be concealed underneath the grip out of the line of sight. And in the kit you'll find 2 additional adhesive tabs. Apply one of these to the end and then stick it firmly in place. Then go over the entire grip with your hands, making sure that everything's flattened down and securely fixed in place. Now, longevity, leather that's left exposed to the elements long term isn't going to fare very well. Trip Machine recommend that you keep these wraps as dry as possible. Now, this is fine for your average guy that just enjoys weekend rides when the weather's good, and I'm not criticising, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're one of those people that commutes to work every day rain or shine, these grip wraps might not be for you. I dare say you could apply some sort of waterproofing balm to this leather to give it some protection if you get caught in the rain, but you would have to be careful not to apply too much, because the last thing that you want is to put an excessive amount on and for it to soak through and loosen the adhesive up underneath. On the whole, I really like them. They give a really classy look to a build. Now, I still have those tobacco coloured ones, and I have to admit I've been wondering what to do with the grips on the Triumph T100 project. I think I'm going to use those wraps on the grips. I'll show you that at some later date. Once again, Trip Machine are offering one of these as a free giveaway, and they will be randomly selected from my list of patrons. Now, the winner of the shoe protector in the last Trip Machine video that I did is Mr. Anders Lielja. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Anders, I will be emailing you and will organise for Trip Machine to get that shoe protector to you as quickly as possible. For the rest of you, I'll leave a link down below to Trip Machine's product page for these wraps. Trip Machine are also offering a 15% discount, which will be available via a discount code, which I'll also include in the video description. Once again, thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I'll be back on Friday, so until then, ride safely and I'll see you soon.